Elden Ring.
No.
Told you.
No.
Told you.
No.
Way. Bro, no way.
No way. No way.
Why are they giving From Software all these Game of the Year?
Cause it's easy and it does a lot of damage.
Do you wanna truly know why it won though?
Nigga, because I don't know.
Because it is a multi-platform
Multiplayer. There we go.
Hey. Yeah? What the hell is this? Oh.
I can't believe that they did this.
Really? You really can't?
It's not even about Sony to me, dog.
Don't bullshit.
I'm saying,
light thing to say,
as a gamer, looking at
on the
games
occasion
and
of
playing games,
the,
there's no
receiving
fucking
the
way
GOTY award,
that
but
this game is hitting on cylinders higher than God of War or even
interesting
Horizon.
games.
There's no fucking way.
Well, the chart says
They let this game win every category that don't make sense for it to win. Y'all realize that? Best narrative, ha! Game direction and win.
Because the whole world gone crazy!
Swear to God, dog.
It's alright, bro.
Yeah, it definitely is, bro.
Finally,
You like
to...
Ooh, wow. Gay.
That is pretty gay.
Look at this little bitch ass nigga in the background. That little boy.
very poor choice of words.
I'm more disappointed at Horizon not getting a single
that is a big
award,
one.
bro.
Isn't it beautiful?
They got the
There's
best
no way.
technology in the fucking industry, bro. I ain't gonna even lie to y'all niggas. I don't even care, dog.
I sympathize. There's no worse fate than to be maidenless.
Lock the door and keep your mouth shut. Were you followed here? Are you sure? I don't trust any of you. Or maybe I'm a little paranoid because although PlayStation Fanboy Salt has been legalized, Elden Ring Salt is still classified as a Schedule 1 drug. The Pony Salt has simply not been as profitable lately, and a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. No?
What does a man do? Provides for his family.
So, although the bottle may say Pony Salt, about 90% of it is actually Elden Ring Salt. Can you actually name a single drug dealer out there that's actually masking a more potent high as a lesser high?
Introducing
Pony Salt.
Free Christmas Snow from Integrity Farms.
At a cheaper price? Yeah, I didn't think so, so take it easy on me, and take it easy on that salt. I'm feeling quite generous because it's Christmas season.
Yeah, no need to worry. I don't have an addictive personality.
How long is it going to take PlayStation fanboys to just accept that Elden Ring is the better game? Because based on the standards these guys have, you'd figure Game of the Year would be the absolute truth. They didn't deny it when The Last of Us won, they didn't deny it when Uncharted won, and they didn't deny it when God of War 2018 won. But when it comes to a game other than PlayStation winning it, we have to suddenly question the ethics of the Game Awards and Jeff Keighley. And in order to do that, they have to slander the game as much as possible to get their point across. I said it before and I'll say it again, I've never seen a game create so much goddamn salt for being so good. Miyazaki's a goddamn genius because his games are designed to weed out the biggest bitches in the community while simultaneously exposing just how shallow the rest of the AAA industry is, which basically marks Elden Ring as one of the most historic launches in all of gaming. When your video game is so good at being, you know, a video game that people criticize it for not being more like a movie, you know you've done something right. Elden Ring wins Game of the Year at the Game
Nos destinatem matribus nunc fiuntur.
Elden Cringe got lucky, got released early this year. God of War got robbed.
Yeah, well, evidently evidently it didn't get robbed enough because it's still left with 6 awards. Can somebody give me Santa Monica's address so Miyazaki can sneak in and steal all the awards? This guy actually thinks Elden Ring getting released earlier in the year did it more favors. Actually, no, it didn't. There's a reason God of War was released a month before the Game Awards show. Because we all know recency bias really helps games. That fresh new game smell can oftentimes really blind people. Believe me, as the years go by, God of War Ragnarok is going to receive a lot more criticism than it's getting now. Elden Ring has had plenty of time for the hype to wear down, and people's perspectives can change a lot in the course of a few months. So conditions were a lot more favorable for God of War to win the award, and it didn't. God of War was set up to succeed and take that award, and it didn't. So technically, you're right. Elden Ring got quite lucky.
Made game sold it back after a few days of terrible gameplay and lack of substance.
Do you know what that word means?
Yep.
Yeah, what's that mean?
You see what I mean? Do you see why I say Elden Ring got lucky? Miyazaki had balls designing a game for non-casual folks, because the end result is oftentimes people with the attention span of a goldfish will never even beat the game. The fact that a game like Elden Ring somehow managed to get so popular and well received during a time where the industry is so streamlined and casualized is a goddamn miracle. Chances are the man tweeting this doesn't even know what he means when he says a lack of substance. You can tell he picked up that phrase from watching YouTube videos or scrolling through his Twitter feed, but has no clue what it actually means, because if he did, he wouldn't be saying that. Chances are this man sucked so much at the game that he didn't reach a cutscene for a few days and thought the game had no story, so he put it down and sold it. And that's what I mean when I say Miyazaki had balls. He didn't design a game for stupid people.
Nah, undeserved. God of War the real winner. Game was mid. Bro, God of War was robbed. It should have been God of War Ragnarok. It had a real story. How can a game not be the game of the year if it wins in every other category? Doesn't really make sense in my opinion. How the fuck did Elden Ring win Game of the Year against God of War Ragnarok when they lost against them in almost every single category they were both in? Only edgy kids loved Elden Piss. God of War should have won Game of the Year. Rigged!
Don't you just love that pattern of all these people crying and whining that God of War deserved it and it was robbed? But whenever you ask them, why does God of War deserve it over Elden Ring, they can't ever give you a good answer. It's the same stupid-ass arguments. It's got no story. The graphics aren't as good. It didn't get as many awards as Ragnarok. When it comes to the arguments as to why this game doesn't deserve Game of the Year, they bring nothing to the table, just like God of War brought nothing to the table in innovation. Some people out there really do just think holding the analog stick forward and talking is the absolute pinnacle of game design, and consider the complex nature of From Software games to be mid. This is what streamlining video games has done. People tell me casualization is just a myth, Frit. Yeah, right. I'm showing you proof of the damage it's done. And here all along I was blaming Call of Duty. But sad as it is to say, COD has a lot more depth than some of these AAA third-person action-adventure games. The overabundance of cinematic experiences is causing a lot of people to forget what actual gameplay is like. Because when you give it to them, they're confused and wondering why there's no story and why they're having a challenge. They're not used to challenges. The current gaming industry is trying to move away from that. But thank God for Miyazaki and thank God for Elden Ring winning. Because hopefully this will lead to a shift in overall game design with the AAA industry. Hopefully a game like Elden Ring can get other game developers to get back in touch with what gamers actually like about video games. But in all honesty, that's just wishful thinking. From Software has masterfully applied its unforgiving formula to a vast open world, and it's that combination that really makes Elden Ring such an unforgettable experience. Here's why it's our Game of the Year. What? Hold on, wait a minute, IGN wrote that? IGN? Are you sure? Am I smoking my DMT pen or my dab pen? Nope, that's my puff bar, so I'm not tripping. You'd figure after several other journalists got pissed off at this game because it didn't have black hairstyles, every single outlet wouldn't be picking it as their Game of the Year, but I guess there's some hope in humanity.
But the Game
wasn't. Trust me, I would know. PlayStation fanboys and some Xenoblade fans for some reason have been waking up to panic attacks at the very idea that this game would take the Game of the Year award. Ponies check under their bed for Miyazaki. It sent J-Tech to the mental asylum multiple times. And believe me when I say this, for the next few years, you're going to see a lot of resentment from PlayStation fanboys. They will forever make an enemy out of From Software for doing this to God of War. Plus, Elden Ring is like the only single player game I've ever seen gamers talk about non-stop for more than 1 month, which is honestly quite an achievement by today's standards. You know what game was actually forgotten about? Horizon Forbidden West. The Game Awards are the only reason anybody ever remembered that game actually released this year. And months after release, there's still a huge community uncovering the deep lore and piecing together this game's massive world. Do you see that happening for God of War? Do you see that happening for Horizon? Do you see that happening for many games? People say God of War Ragnarok's story is such a masterpiece that you'll never forget, but I don't ever see the type of support from the community covering such a deep story like you do for Elden Ring. It's not even close.
Pretty forgettable when there's no story to speak of. The battles were fun when they weren't frustrating, but that's it.
Maybe it's not the game that sucks, maybe you suck.
The battles were fun when they weren't frustrating. Why does it always have to be the most brain-dead casuals who make these types of comments? In this current day, people want immediate satisfaction. Everything's designed to give people an immediate dopamine rush. It's why developers practically make their games in a laboratory these days. They have to study their test subjects to ensure that they build a product that appeases to those who don't even play video games often. And that's why they quickly become so forgettable. Because it's supposed to appeal to those with a short attention span. It's the Disney method of producing content.
It's God of War! Elden Ring does a wonderful job with its open world and rewarding you for exploring, but God of War does too many other numerous things exceptionally well on top of that for me to give it to Elden Ring.
Okay. Show me.
Like what? Would it bother you to elaborate, please? How can you even say that when Elden Ring legitimately has far more gameplay mechanics going for it than God of War? It's not even close. Last I checked, there's no multiple endings for God of War. There's no player choice. There's no freedom in building a character the way you want. There's no PvP. There's no jolly cooperation. But most importantly, there's no maidens. If we're being real with ourselves, the only thing God of War does exceptionally well is the way it structures its story. But beyond that, it's a massive downgrade compared to even the previous God of War games that came out on the PS2. It may be an exceptionally well-looking game, but it most certainly does not have a numerous amount of things going for it in the gameplay department. The puzzles are laughable. The platforming is non-existent. The combat is enjoyable but doesn't provide anywhere near as much depth and isn't even a fraction of the combat that Elden Ring has. You know, the more I think about it, the less I want people to actually explain themselves, because this is them trying to explain to us why God of War is better. And it's not furthering the discussion, it's just furthering my mental illness. No story, uncounterable attacks have to go to YouTube every 5 minutes.
You suck!
Do you see what I tell you? Well, you know what? I don't really have a response to this one other than get good.
It's a wandering simulator with no story.
So, your life, homie.
There was not a better looking game in 2022 than this. Should have won Best Art Direction at the Video Game Awards.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you there's no Best Graphics Award. Art direction and graphics aren't the same thing. You can have some of the most ultra-realistic looking textures and peach fuzz on Aloy's face, but at the end of the day, it's the aesthetics of something that appeal to people more. Plus, if Horizon didn't get this award in 2017, what made you think it was gonna get it in 2022? And don't you love how he's showing you an interior corridor that doesn't actually display the best locations of the game as an example of its art direction? Oh yeah, you're doing a great job of convincing us there. there. The same tired sandy beaches and palm trees and open prairies and deep forests are a lot more memorable than Caelid, Volcano Manor, Nokron the Eternal City, Lanedale, crumbling Farah Mazula, Academy of Rhea Lucaria. The fact that I can actually remember the names of these locations versus a random village in Horizon should say something. The various locations in Elden Ring are jaw-dropping. Sure, they're not the most visually realistic looking things out there, but you legitimately feel like you've been transported to some other world. From Software easily has some of the most beautiful art direction in the entire industry, and they just keep proving it with each game. Meanwhile, God of War and Horizon look exactly the same as they did back in 2018 and 17. They may graphically stand out, but as we all know, it's the art direction that holds up over time versus the graphical fidelity. The visual image of the Erdtree alone will be embedded in gamers' minds for years to come, unlike the bland landscapes that you can find in Horizon.
Which combat system do you prefer more?
Oh great, it's puffy-faced Joe Miller. He hasn't been handling the news of God of War losing to Elden Ring too well. So he's been trying to cope by putting out tweets where he completely misrepresents Elden Ring in order to make God of War look more favorable. So we got 10,000 salty-ass PlayStation fanboys clicking like on that tweet because the button-mashing nature of God of War is a lot more satisfying to them. Anything to get a one-up on Elden Ring. And right off the bat, based off that footage, you can see the problem already. He picks two completely different combat scenarios for both games. Shows footage of Kratos fighting multiple enemies while only showing the player fighting one enemy in Elden Ring. And using bad gameplay footage at that. You know, the type of thing a child would do to prove his game was better. Ooh, God of War combat much shinier. Therefore, better than Elden Ring. No, come on, Frit, they're not actually that stupid. Well,
not gonna lie, this is unironically why I don't like Souls games. You just don't feel as cool as other games, and it feels very slow, both in combat and out.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. You can mail in your apologies. I understand. A lot of people usually doubt me when I say that these people are stupid. They find it unfair and too judgmental of me. But let's face it, someone who's a lot more pleased with how flashy something looks versus how well it's actually executed, 9 out of 10 times has an IQ around the same level as DSP. Flashier combat must mean more gooder game. You know what the funniest part about all of this is? Is that he's using a mod that makes Elden Ring's combat a lot more like Sekiro. So it's already a complete misrepresentation. This is how desperate they are to get God of War any dub they can. Because the biggest W they could have given God of War got taken away from them this year. God of War is a dedicated action game. Elden Ring is an action RPG. And yet it excels in its combat in ways that God of War Ragnarok simply can't. I mean, for God's sake, you can actually jump in Elden Ring. Jump attacks already add a level of complexity to the combat that they for some reason took out of the God of War franchise. The clip he's showing you encapsulates exactly what God of War's combat is perfectly well, whereas his Elden Ring clip isn't showing you the ability to do stealth attacks, long range, magic, or unique attacks that each weapon provides, which mind you is a long list. And that says a lot, doesn't it? You can summarize all of God of War's combat in a 10-second clip, but trying to do the same for Elden Ring is impossible because there's simply way more going on for it. My God, the desperation of these PlayStation fanboys. The best they have to show for God of War is incomparable to Elden Ring. And it's just sad. Why do they even try? Why even bother? These pointless comparisons happen because they're simply salty, and you can't convince me otherwise. Elden Ring winning this pointless award is quite possibly a sign that nature is healing. And I'm glad I'm not the only guy that recognizes that these PlayStation fanboys have absolutely horrendous takes. Please allow me to enjoy it for at least one day, because I'm pretty sure once I wake up tomorrow, all this hard work will be undone, and we'll be back to streamlined games appealing to the masses. Now would you kindly get out of here and go overdose outside? If that wasn't wasn't enough salt to satisfy you, then go over to Vodividia's channel and bother him until he starts covering it too. There's only so much someone with the pitiful 55k subs can do, but my liver is begging me to stop. So you should consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing if you so choose to. And until then, I'll be seeing you in the next one.
Fritongo sucks ass.
Ploravimus, lacrimavimus, que sed ne bonus consolatur.